and His love for us. But nonetheless, God knew that we would need proof. And He offered us proof. Romans chapter 1 and verse 19, you don't have to turn there. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For His invisible attributes, namely His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world and the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. God knew we would need proof, and so He left His fingerprints all over this world. I had the opportunity over Christmas to be laying down up in a mountain where my grandparents live, and I looked up, and it took my breath away, the amount of stars in the sky. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Our idea of a star is like a plane flying past, or a helicopter. When I saw these millions of stars all over the sky, it was breathtaking. I couldn't even focus on one because there was an even brighter one next to it, and an even brighter one next to it. It was all-inspiring to realize that all these tiny little dots that scatter the sky are stars, hundreds of miles wide, scattered through millions of miles in the universe. That's not by accident. That's not a molecular explosion that happened in dark matter, releasing enough energy to construct this entire universe. This is a designer. Look at the complexity of the human body, made up of millions of cells, each one having a very specific purpose. Each one being vital to its success. If one of these cells was off, if one of these cells messed up, malfunctioned, it would lead to the death of a person. And yet, everything's constructed like a well-oiled machine, working day in and day out, every breath we take. Perfect perfection. Do you think that's by accident? Through evolution, through construction over time? No. This is an intelligent designer looking down and forming us. Evidences of God are everywhere. We just have to believe, and it'll come clear. People who want to know answers can see God everywhere. So should we. The second thing that the story of Thomas showed us is that Christ answered Thomas's doubt. Thomas doubted. What ended his doubt? Jesus coming up to him and saying, "Look, it's me." Likewise, when we have doubt, who can clear our doubt? Jesus. Look through the Gospels. How many times is Jesus referred to as teacher, rabbi? Because people came to him because they knew he held answers. Nicodemus was a high-ranking Pharisee, a very intelligent man in the Jewish religion. And yet he had questions and he doubted. Who did he come to? Jesus. Likewise, when we go through times of hardship, the first person we should be talking to is Jesus. The second type of doubt is emotional doubt. Probably the most painful. I have a best friend, his name's Cameron. He's been dealing with this problem mentally that he just can't get through. And he keeps racking himself with guilt because he's baptized. He's been a Christian now for 4.5 years. And he can't quite fathom that someone as insignificant and sinful as him is going to make it to heaven. He goes, "Bishop, I try my best day in and day out to be the best Christian I can, but I fall short daily. There's no way a man like me will ever make it into heaven. You look at the great men of the Bible, I don't do that stuff. I haven't written letters to churches. I haven't slayed giants in God's name. I haven't taken on armies for God's purpose. I'm a 17-year-old who time and time again falls short of God." That's emotional doubt. And it's a hard thing to come through. See, the thing is that we aren't worthy of heaven. We never will be worthy of heaven. We could spend this entire life on earth doing great works and not earn heaven. But we don't have to earn heaven. Christ offered it to us. Christ offered His Son so that we could have an opportunity at heaven if we live according to His Word. If we try our best every day to be the man He would have us to be, we've been offered heaven. But emotional doubt still prevails. The first step to being able to resist emotional doubt is found in Psalms, the 55th chapter. You don't have to turn there. Beginning of verse 4. "My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror overwhelms me. And I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. Yes, I would wander far away. I would lodge in the wilderness. I would hurry to find a shelter from the raging wind and tempest. Verse 16, but I call to God, and the Lord will save me. Evening and morning and at noon, I utter my complaint and moan, and he hears my voice. He redeems my soul in safety from the battle that I rage. For many are arrayed against me. First way that we can resist emotional doubt is by controlling our emotion. A lot of us have problems with that. We do. We get really, really angry over little things. We get really, really sad. That's part of human nature. It makes us who we are. But as Christians, we need to be self-disciplined. Because a lot of times, unruly emotion will lead us to doubt ourselves. Will lead us into depression, where we don't think that we're living in the way that, gives us purpose. It can lead to over-anger at people around us, sometimes our brothers and sisters in Christ. One way that we can avoid emotional doubt is by controlling ourselves. Sometimes we have to step out of our perspective in order to do so. To realize that the problems that we're going through really aren't the worst things in life. And that God can help us do it. There's that VeggieTales song, God is bigger than the boogeyman, bigger than Godzilla, and the monsters on TV. It's true. No matter what we go through, God's there. So sometimes we have to step out of the problems that we're dealing with, the problems that are causing us this emotional doubt. And we have to look and realize that whatever we're going through, God's way bigger. God can get us through this. We don't have to worry. We don't have to doubt. The most prevalent example of this emotional doubt is Job. Job chapter 31. I invite you to turn there with me. We're going to look at one of his final appeals before God. Job 31, beginning in verse 1. I have made a covenant with my eyes, and then could I gaze at a virgin, and what would be my portion from God above, and my heritage from the Almighty on high? Is not calamity for the unrighteous, and disaster for the workers of iniquity? Does not he see my ways and number all my steps? If I walked with falsehood, and my foot has hastened to deceit, let me be weighed in a just balance, and let God know my integrity. If my step has turned aside from the way, and my heart has gone after my eyes, and if any spot has stuck to my hands, then let me sow another and eat, and let what grows from me be rooted out. A lot of times people that go through emotional doubt question the situations that are given to them. Well, obviously I'm doing something wrong in my life. Obviously I'm not a righteous man, because look at what God's put before me. That's what Job's going through here. If you don't know the story of Job, look back on it. It's an amazing story. This man was very righteous, prominent, wealthy, had a loving family. And the devil came in, took everything away from him. He had nothing. And here he is, having everything stripped from him. He looks to God and he goes, do you see what I'm going through? Did I deserve this? Did you do this to me, Lord? The Lord would respond a few chapters later, and probably the most powerful passage of Scripture ever. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is that darkens my counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man, I will question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determines its measurement? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? You see later on, he's talking about how he created the waters. He told these oceans, stop. And they stopped. He told the trees to grow. He told the stars in the sky where to go. He constructed the first morning. Where was Job during all of this? He wasn't even born. The purpose of this is to show that even though our life seems terrible, even though it looks like God has forsaken us sometimes, even though we can't see a bright future, God's right there. He has our hope. He has our trust, and He has our strength. And He realizes that we can get through it. If Job can go through all that he went through by believing in God, through the strength of God, then so can we. The third type of doubt is volitional doubt. This type of doubt causes kind of a large spectrum. It can be anything from a weak faith to lack of motivation in one's faith. It can oftentimes exhibit itself in having a stagnant faith, not pursuing God. Maybe it's someone who's been a Christian for a long time and they go, well, I know about as much as I'm going to know. I've lived a good life. I don't need to continue to study. I don't need to continue to spread the gospel. I've been telling people about Christ for 40 years now.